This is a special podcast presentation from 700WLW.com. This is Doc Thompson On Demand.
You know, in between the little shifts here, there's a changing of the guards, whether it's between, me and Jim Scott as he leaves the air and I come on, or Willie coming on the air as I leave, Sloaney and Tracy when Willie gets off the air. We have little conversations. Now, we gather together other times of the day in the hall or whatever. But like Jim usually heads out and takes care of other stuff the rest of the day, I get 2 or 3 minutes with him while I'm putting everything in order here as I'm coming in and he's cleaning up from when he leaves. And I explained to him yet again today, Jim, if people would simply take my advice, if they would listen to what I say, we would be much better off. I tried to explain that with him when it comes to the schools in Little Miami School District. Little Miami says they're going to try again for another levy. 9 that they will have tried for since 2008. And he said, well, we definitely got a problem with education. I said, no, you're right, Jim. I said, but they keep trying to do the same stuff. Now, maybe I don't have every answer. Heck, you can think I'm completely wrong, but doing the same thing over and over again is not the right way to go about it. Someday, people like Jim Scott will say, I should have listened to Doc. It's only a matter of time. Rich Hoffman joins me now from No Lakota Levy. How are you, sir?
Great, Doc. It's a wonderful day.
So, the No Lakota Levy people are willing to go ahead and support a levy next year, huh?
No. I noticed as soon as that story hit the papers, everybody just ran with it. I was inundated yesterday with media requests. Hey, are you guys making a deal with the school board? No, we're not making a deal with the school board. It's one guy that we in our group, we have a group of developers that would otherwise support levies if any other time, because they build neighborhoods and they're part of the infrastructure. And when the housing market, when the bubble burst, they were stuck with a lot of properties that no one was buying, so they had to pay taxes on that property. That's why they're against further levies. They're just looking for some hedge in between now and some future time where they can get everything in order and not be stuck with all these properties.
I mean, we all recognize, we got to fund the schools. We understand that, and one of the ways we do it in Ohio is via levy. So, yeah, it's not that people are just being mean and saying, never, ever again will we pass a levy, never, ever will we again spend money on schools. It's a time and a place and what the levy's about.
Oh, exactly. And it's just like what you said with the Little Miami situation. All they know how to do is just ask for more revenue. They have these out-of-control contracts that just keep driving their cost of doing business up, and they only know how to ask for more money. There's no management factor to regulate costs into some sort of sustainable model that everybody can function from. And then that's what's going on here. I was surprised, when you go to some of these No Lakota meetings that we've been in, and some of these same folks are very, they're smart people. I mean, they're business people. And everybody knows how to run a good, sound fiscal house, like you said with Mr. Scott there. There's this perception that if it's kids, it's off limits. If it's education, they're the people that have grown up with this FDR view of the world. And education is a sacred cow that you can't touch or even deal with.
But
that's where these...
But what's so funny, Rich, is, you're right, and I agree with you there, and I think there's a lot of things that have been done wrong with education based on my personal beliefs and that. But I can even respect people who are opposed to me and have a different view of that stuff. But sure. I think we should all be able to understand that, number one, we are on an unsustainable path. We cannot keep spending the way we have. And number two, that we need to come up with some new ideas. We can look at the numbers across the board. We understand that America has some challenges when it's faced, with competing with the world, number one. And number two, we keep spending more and more money and we're not getting that return on our investment.
Sure.
So we obviously need to do something different. And very few people are willing to hang it out there and say, let's come up with new ideas.
Right. And that's what we're trying to push from. If you've probably seen some of the articles that have appeared in the wake of all these defeats at Lakota, part of what makes Lakota a good school system isn't necessarily the school. School is reflective of the people who live in the community. And you have some folks that, there's a lot of parents now that are organizing cul-de-sac hockey games and football games and touch football. And you have the mothers that are gathering together and getting kids and taking them to these museums. And they're doing that because the schools are no longer doing that. Well, that's the way it's always supposed to have been. Schools weren't supposed to be doing all that stuff. It's supposed to come from your neighbors, from your family, from other, people in the district. Get together, and if you want to do those extra things, that's how kids benefit, is when people get active in their lives.
Well, yeah, because you know your friends' parents, or your kids' friends' parents, you know your neighbors, you're active in your school, as opposed to just, all right, I'm shipping them off, and you return them to me as fine citizens.
Yeah, and that's what you see here is, it's easy. It's remember back in the day, you were about as old as I am. Remember when we used to have to turn the TV, you had to get up and actually turn the if you want to change channels?
Yep.
You had to actually switch it. And remember if you wanted to watch something on UHF, you had to actually turn a dial and actually switch it to UHF. You had to get up and move it. Now, with a remote, people don't even like to if the remote's just at another couch over from where you're sitting, people tend to watch the same channel because they don't want to get up, because the remote has made it easy to watch television.
Rich, I remember the days where I was the remote for my father, and right. I remember the days when we also had to use the channel locks to change the television because the thing broke. I mean, yeah, I remember all of those. No, you're right. We have a different view on things. I mean, anybody that is, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, whatever, you're going to have a different view. So that's the reason I've always said, okay, let's look at what was successful before, number one, and that was meeting your neighbors, being involved in your community and your school, teaching your kids yourself a great deal of things, life lessons and actual school lessons, and working with them, setting a high bar and expectations of what you're going to need to be and what is expected of you as you become a citizen. And all of that. So we set that high bar. Those are the things from the past that we did well. Now we've got new challenges and new opportunities because of technology. Let's get in the room. Everybody throw ideas out there. Sky's the limit. Learn online, open campuses, alternate hours, downsizing the number of classrooms, letting kids learn some stuff online. I mean, just throw it all out there and let's craft something for the next 50 years.
Right, and that's what should happen. But the resistance to it is, well, you know what the interests are, and like you covered yesterday with the schools trying to prosecute over a child and what he does in his on his Facebook. That kind of thing. That's way overreaching for a school system to deal with what's going on in a kid's personal life. They've now policed. They get involved in abuse cases with parents and that kind of thing, and that teaches kids to become centralized in their thinking. A centralized authority dictates, what your rules and regulations are going to be, and it takes it away from the parents. And they've made themselves kind of a babysitting service, so it makes it easy for the parent to just drop the kid off and just let someone else raise them. And that's where you see where all this stuff is going bad. So everybody's addicted to this, and no one wants to talk about changing it, even when the cost per pupil is exceeding $10,000 per student and without any real results. And that's where it's just insane.
And let's face it, as you mentioned yesterday, too, with kids on the social media and the school wanting to punish them, I think most of us realize that had we had that social media and we had done something like that, we wouldn't have to worry about the school punishing us, because our parents would have punished us far greater than the school would or could.
Right, back then, back when we were growing up, and I hate to say it, I never thought I'd ever get to an age where I would say that kind of thing. But, because it shows your age a little bit. But things have changed dramatically in just 20 years. My parents and every parent I ever knew growing up would have been much more active in kids' lives. This wouldn't even been something the school would even consider doing. But since really the early 90s, it's really spun out of control, and it's become now just one generation an accepted medium of control that everyone just subscribes to. And when I heard one of our guys, the No Lakota people, speak the other night, where he basically said, well, if you guys don't if you don't put a levy on in 2011, we'll support you in 2012. We never had a meeting on that, and we never discussed that. That just come out of him, out of their concerns, and that means some of these builders, their concerns of getting killed in the year 2011 with a lot of vacant properties that they can't pay. That just tells you kind of what they're thinking is, well, we don't want to go against the political grain of the community too much because it hurts. I can feel it. I know they feel it.
The problem with this is, Rich, and I understand his sentiment, if he's saying, don't put it on now because right now we're in a bad way and maybe down the road we'll be in a better way, I can understand that. But if you say we will support one in 2012, it could be worse.
That's committing.
Right.
Just saying, let's look at it down the road is one thing. Any good negotiator would say that. But to come out and say, we will support it in 2012, that sends an absolutely wrong message. And there's a lot of people, especially the people who are older, 50 and above, that are, in our group that sent me emails last night asking, what the heck's going on?
Right.
Are you guys going away? Because we're their only line of defense against out-of-control spending.
Well, and see, the thing is, he shouldn't have to say this, and the school board shouldn't have to be, an adversary in this. Everybody should understand this very simple concept that the economy is bad now. Everybody is suffering. Now is not the time. When it gets better, we will address this, and we as citizens are going to be reasonable and say, make an argument for why you need an increase, and if it's legitimate, we will vote in support of the levy.
Absolutely.
Very simple.
But in that process, while you're in this hole, you need to go and push and see what you really need, what you don't need, how you can use innovation to your advantage and drive the cost per pupil down, because you're never going to solve the state funding problem if you have these crazy, outrageous expectations of $10,000 per kid. That's just, you're never going to get anybody in any body of legislation to agree, okay, let's fund this program at this amount because it's out of control and no one wants to touch it.
Looks like you guys got a new superintendent on the way, huh?
Yeah, we'll see.
I mean, the way I understand it, it looks like Karen Mantilla from Pickering School District near Columbus is getting ready to resign, and she could be heading to Lakota. Is that what you've heard?
I have heard that. I've heard that rumor. It kind of course, that rumor came out. Similar rumor when the lady from Wyoming went to Mason, who was a close friend of Kevin Bright. This is all kind of a little network of people that when one of them gets in trouble or there's problems in the community and they get some bad PR, they all sort of they switch them around, and it is. It's a little community of specialists that are sort of there to pass levies. And when they get in trouble or in hard times, they kind of swap them around. So I don't know what her deal is. I'm not sure what the situation is going to be. But yeah, if rumors are to be believed as it was with Wyoming situation with their superintendent moving and filling the Mason spot, I think it's probably true.
Yeah, because she is giving her notice. She is leaving Pickerington, so we'll see if that's where she ends up. And she spent a lot of time around Cincinnati and Dayton school districts, so it would make sense. But here's my question: how much did you pay in Lakota for a search for a superintendent?
The search alone was $50,000.
$50,000 for a superintendent, and they found somebody that is right there.
Right there, down the road.
When I hear you're going to spend $50,000, I'm thinking they are going to, circle the globe, checking every village in Africa and in Asia. They're going to check every school district in America to find the greatest, the sword from the stone moment where they here's our superintendent. $50,000. All you have to do, they check how many school districts? 40? I mean, yep. She's within a circumference of 40 school districts?
Yep, and that's where the money is. When you talk about, and the taxpayers say, we're getting killed, we can't afford higher taxes, and when they get to that breaking point and they start asking the questions, well, why do you need such a big gymnasium? Why do you need this school? Why do you need this many teachers? Why do you need to pay them this much? Why do you need to, you start going through all the why needs, and then you find out that it's a big padding operation where everybody takes care of each other, just like any political organization. It's really about the network and then the money that supports the network. And the money comes out of our pockets, unfortunately, and it gets spent maliciously, like $50,000 just tossed into a can to find someone down the road. When they probably could have just picked up the phone and said, hey, would you like to come to Lakota?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, she's right there and has spent a great deal of time right here.
Yeah.
$50,000, money well spent. That's like them saying, Doc, we've decided to give you a partner. We've spent $50,000 scouring the globe, and we found Mark Amazon, who is already on staff. I mean, really great. Excellent idea. Nice job.
Right, exactly. And that's the big money ticket, and it's a meal ticket for getting everybody involved, and they threw some money at this firm, and that money will get transferred in some other way back in public relations that the school board can use down the road, probably when they need to pass a levy.
I've decided the business we need to be in, Rich, is being the consultants that actually find these people.
You know what? We could do that if we didn't spend so much time saying that it's wrong. If we just did like the rest of the world, just take it. Just suck it up. Just
drink the Kool-Aid, Rich. Drink the Kool-Aid. So I'm just imagining these people, the research firm, where they're just hanging out and they're like, whoa. You know, we promised to find them somebody. We better get on this. Let's see. What do we get? Pickering. We gonna do Pickering. Yeah, it sounds fine. See if she's interested.
I was ready. I mean, honestly, mentally, psychologically, for the next levy fight, I was ready for a heavy hitter. A heavy come-to-town person from some school district that's been successful at passing levies. Maybe in San Francisco or Los Angeles or New York suburbs. Someone who's going to come in here, big heavy hitter, and it's someone Pickering. All
right, Rich Hoffman from No Lakota Levy. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
All right,
it's Doc Thompson at 700 WL. Doc Thompson at 700 WLW. It's hilarious to me. You hire a firm to find you a new superintendent. You spend $50,000+ to do so, and you find somebody that is already in the state, that is from the area, and is only a handful of districts away. Inside Columbus. Boy, that is money well spent.